Hey there guys, what is going on? Welcome to another top 10 list of the most overpowered guns in Cold War Season 3 Reloaded. This is of course after the most recent balance patch. We did see those sniper changes to the ADS time, which is not realistically that bad, and adding the flinch to the snipers, as well as a lot of bullet velocity changes across the board to some of the assault rifles. Just before we do get into it here, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. I massively appreciate it, and it really does help me out. Of course, we are looking for 5,000 subscribers very soon, and we're getting there closer every day, so I do massively appreciate that. Let's talk about 10 of the most overpowered class setups in Cold War Season 3 Reloaded here. As usual, we are going to do these by category, so we are starting off with the assault rifles, and one of the better weapons in the game still, I believe, is the Fara 83. It's one of those weapons that's still always going to be good just because it has very fast time to kill out to pretty long distances in this game. Right, so of course the Fara 83, the attachments that we do want to run on this thing are pretty similar to how we have run them pre-patch. There's no real changes here, so if you had seen a class setup on this video previously, the class really won't change here. Those attachments are going to be as follows with that Microflex LED. You can take this off if you do prefer the sights on this thing. I really don't like the iron sights, so that's why I go with the Microflex LED. In the barrel slot, the real only option here is, of course, the Liberator barrel. This does give us a 100% increase to our bullet velocity. This does take our bullet velocity to an absolutely ridiculous 1,458 meters per second. This is up about 108 on the previous update, giving us a bullet velocity that is absolutely ridiculous. Really fantastic for hit detection here. In the underbarrel slot, for most assault rifles, we are going with the Spetsnaz speed grip, as this does give us a 5% increase to our sprinting movement speed, which is about 15 miles per hour, which is really quick. And of course, a nice increase to our horizontal recoil control of 15%, keeping us on target here. Then we move to the Serpent Wrap here. This does give us a 25% increase to our aim down sight speed, which does really keep us on target, get those sights up nice and quickly without reducing our shooting movement speed and our sprint out time by as much as the Airborne Elastic Wrap. But if you do prefer this for a little bit of flinch resistance, it's not super significant, you can take this instead. And then lastly, we round this up with the KGB skeletal stock here with for the sprint to fire speed and of course the aim walking movement speed from this thing, keeping our sights up when we are sprinting around corners, as well as moving quite quickly when we are aim down sight as well. The rest of the class setup is going to look like this. The secondary is sort of up to you. You can pretty much choose whatever you do prefer in this slot. We really like the Akimbo Diamatis, the dual wield. Dual wield pistols are still very powerful in this game, almost like a shotgun. You want to grab that infantry compensator or of course the sound suppressor, depending on how you do want to play. The barrel, the task force option, does give us damage range and velocity. Then the body, 5 milliwatt for the hip fire accuracy, then the magazine, the 30 round fast mag for the most amount of bullets to fire, and then the stock, the dual wield option for getting 2 of these very powerful pistols here. In the middle 3 slots, the tactical, the lethal, and the field upgrade. You can pretty much choose whatever you do like in these slots. I really do think the stim shot is the best option for continuing on those streaks. The lethal, we can pretty much again choose whatever we want here. I like the Semtex because it is very satisfying, but the C4, Frag, Molotov, and the Tomahawk are all good options. Then the field upgrade, the jammer, is very strong for denying that enemy information on the map, but you can pick whatever you want in this slot as well. In the wildcard slot, because the Fire 83 doesn't actually need 8 attachments, we can get away with running perk greed here. And the perks we want to go with are, of course, Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Tracker, Scavenger, Ninja, and Ghost. But again, whatever perk combination works for you is absolutely fine. The next gun that we do have on our list here is the AK47, and this got an absolutely ridiculous buff to its bullet velocity for some reason. This was already one of the best guns in the game. And I'll tell you something for free here, this is an absolute freebie in this video. The AK47 is probably the best gun in Cold War right now with that increase to its bullet velocity. And we'll take a look at the stats here. This thing is absolutely ridiculous now. For the muzzle slot, we want to start off with that suppressor here, giving us that muzzle flash concealment. Now you're like, this does reduce our effective damage range and our bullet velocity a little bit, but what do those numbers actually look like? So we take a look. 71.13 meters of damage range is absolutely absurd, and you do get a 300 millisecond time to kill out to that distance, which is just dumb. And the bullet velocity, for some reason, is now almost 900 meters a second. So, what? I don't know why they did that, but it feels good, man. It feels good with the AK now. In the barrel slot, to give us those fantastic numbers, we are taking the VDV Reinforced for, again, the effective damage range and the massive boost to our bullet velocity. Again, combining that bullet velocity with the buff that it did receive in the patch is absolutely dumb, man. I don't know why they did that, but they did, so we're going to take advantage of it with the AK47 and the VDV Reinforced barrel. In the underbarrel slot, as we said, with the assault rifles, we are running the Spetsnaz speed grip across the board here for that sprinting movement speed and horizontal recoil control. In the handle, you can go with that Serpent Wrap for a 25% increase to that aim down sight speed here. Getting those sights up nice and quickly is very important. And then to round this out, again, the KGB skeletal stock here for the sprint to fire speed and aim walking movement speed. You can sort of take the Spetsnaz PKM stock or the no stock if you just want some sprint to fire speed, but again, I feel like this is the best option here for those increases to our aim walking movement speed and sprint to fire speed. Again, the rest of the class setup is going to look very similar to how we have featured in the last one. So again, your dual wield Diamatis or your preferred secondary, again, is up to you. In the tactical slot, again, the stim shot. This is probably the most important one for continuing those streaks. The lethal, Semtex, because it's just really satisfying to stick it to people. Field upgrade, again, choose whatever you do prefer. Wildcard, of course, per Krig, we don't need 8 attachments on the AK. And Flak Jacket forward intel tracker is a little different. You can take Assassin as well. Scavenger, Ninja, and Ghost here. Moving on to what I think is a little bit of an interesting class setup here. It did receive a pretty significant buff to its bullet velocity as well, and actually now features one of the highest bullet velocities in the game in the assault rifle category. This is of course the Krig 6, which is one of those weapons that doesn't have the fastest time to kill. It is definitely slower than the Fara 83 and of course the AK47, but I feel with just such good hit detection at a bullet velocity of, as I said, about 1500 meters per second, we can hit the target very, very easily here, and this is going to be a class setup that is pretty much usable by anyone. Our attachments, again, are going to be as follows with that Microflex LED. This is a similar case to the Fara 83. I really don't like the iron sights on this thing, so I take an optic here. Then the barrel, again, you want that Ranger barrel for a 126% increase to our bullet velocity. I don't know why they did that either. That's a ridiculously large number. And you take a look here, and 1,553 meters per second is an absolutely ridiculous number for bullet velocity. Then, of course, the SFOD speed group for that sprinting movement speed and horizontal recoil control increases. Again, this is important for competing with those SMGs at moving around the map. Then the handle, again, the serpent wrap for an aim down sight speed increase, keeping us on target here, as well as not reducing our shooting movement speed and our sprint out time, again with the airborne elastic wrap, and we don't have it unlocked yet. And then the stock, similar to how we have run this previously, the no stock is a fine option for increasing that sprint to fire speed, but again, the Raider stock is probably good as well for that aim walking movement speed increase. Again, the rest of the class setups are very, very similar to how we have featured previously. Deciding factor, of course, is the Diamati. You can check whatever secondary you prefer. Stimshot, Semtex, and the Jammer, these are all up to you. Wildcard, we only need 5 attachments on this thing. You can take 8 on the Krig 6, so keep that in mind if you do want to switch out some attachments. Maybe get a magazine, different optic, maybe a muzzle. This is up to you. And then in the perks, Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Scavenger, Tracker, Ninja, and Ghost, and you can switch these out as you do prefer for your perfect perk class setup. Moving to the SMGs here, there are 4 very powerful SMGs in the game right now, in my opinion, that are at the tip top of the SMG meta. And starting off with the AK74U here, I think this thing is very, very powerful up close. It does feature nearly just below 300 millisecond time to kill up close, which is very, very powerful. And it only does extend out to about 7 or 8 meters or so. So again, fight up close with this thing and you will do quite well. Our attachments on this thing are going to be a little different to how we have featured this previously, and maybe more suited to that 12v12 playlist. To start us off here, we're actually going to take the barrel here. The Liberator does give us a 100% increase to that bullet velocity, which means we can hit the target as hard and as fast as possible. And this really works quite nicely for our hit detection, giving us a bullet velocity of nearly 800 meters per second. But most people do run the Task Force option still, because giving us that 3-shot kill potential if you are landing a couple of headshots isn't really nice. You do have to deal with the recoil though, which is up to you. Underbarrel again, we're going for that Spetsnaz grip for the recoil control to the vertical and horizontal varieties. This is a really nice boost here and does combat the increase that you do get from something like the Task Force barrel if you do choose that. Magazine, we are going for the Spetsnaz 50 round drum. This is one of the options that is more suited to, of course, the 12v12 playlist. Having more bullets to fire in that list is really important because people come at you all the time from pretty much every angle. Handle slot, again, Grew Elastic Wrap is quite nice here for that aim down sight speed, flinch resistance, and of course aim while going prone. But again, you can take the Serpent Wrap if you do prefer that, and not having those minuses to the sprint to fire speed and shooting movement speed. And then lastly, KGB skeletal stock for the sprint to fire speed and aim walking movement speed increases. This is an option that I wouldn't switch out, apart from maybe the no stock or having a reduced accuracy with that hip fire. This is interesting. You can pretty much choose whatever you do prefer here. Tactical, Stim Shot, again, pick whatever you want. Semtex, similar deal. And the Jammer, again, pick whatever you prefer in these middle 3 slots. We don't need 8 attachments on the AK74U. This is a very powerful option with those 6 perks. Again, Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Scavenger, Tracker, or Assassin, and Ghost and Ninja, or Gung Ho if you are feeling particularly spicy. The next gun that we have here is, of course, the LC10, which a lot of people are still running, and it is a very, very powerful SMG in this game. Definitely one of the top 2 SMGs in the game right now. So the attachments that we do want to run on this thing are going to be as follows. Starting off with that infantry compensator, you can take a sound suppressor as well if you do prefer that. This does reduce our damage range, which is not ideal, but it's not too significant of a difference. In the barrel slot, we do take that Task Force option for the increase to our damage range and bullet velocity. This is a nice place to start here. This does make it a little harder to hit our shots, and that is why we have taken the infantry compensator here. Alongside the infantry compensator, to keep that recoil under control, the field agent grip does give us a vertical recoil and horizontal recoil control increase, which is really, really nice here for keeping us on target. And then in the handle slot for the airborne elastic grab, aim down sight speed, flinch resistance, and of course aim while going prone here. This is really nice for this particular class setup. And then the no stock here for the sprint to fire speed increase while not reducing our hip fire as much, with up close is quite significant here. But again, if you are playing in those larger playlists with more people, you can take something like a magazine with those 52 round fast mag. You probably just have to drop off like a stock or a muzzle or something like that. Tactical is in a similar boat, but I really do think you should be taking the stim shot in most situations. Flashes and stuns really are sort of crutches, and lethal, again, pick whatever you want, and the field upgrade very similar. You can choose how you ever want to play the game here. Wildcard, we don't really need 8 attachments on the LC10. Perk greed's still nice for those 6 perks. Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Assassin, Scavenger, Ninja, and Ghost here. This is a very, very powerful class setup, one of the best SMGs in the game still. The next one that we do have here is the Bullfrog, which we did feature in a video very, very recently, and this is still a very, very powerful class in this game. The Bullfrog is really nice, especially in those 12v12 playlists, because it does have a very large magazine by default. If we want to start off with the attachments here, we take a look at the Spetsnaz Compensator for a 12% increase to that vertical recoil control, keeping that shots down. Then you move to the barrel of the Task Force for a damage, range, and bullet velocity increase is really nice with this particular weapon. If you look at these values here, 400 meters of bullet velocity is kind of meh, but almost 30 meters of damage range is really powerful with this particular weapon. Then the underbarrel, the Spetsnaz grip for a recoil control increase to vertical and horizontal, which is really nice for keeping us on target and negating the nerfs that we do receive from the Task Force barrel in terms of that recoil. Then the handle, Serpent Rat for the aim down sight speed increase is really nice for getting those sights up very quickly. And then the handle, the nose stock for not reducing that hipfire accuracy too much with the KGB skeletal stock, and this can make your movement and your aim feel a little janky sometimes, so keep that in mind here as well. Again, as we talked about, the secondary is up to you. The tactical is pretty much mandatory stim shot most of the time, but lethal is your choice, field upgrade your choice. We're going with the Semtex and the Jammer still. Then the wild card, we absolutely don't need 8 attachments on this thing, so perk greed really perfect. Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Assassin, Scavenger, Ninja, and Ghost here. Nice Bullfrog class setup here, really, really powerful SMG in this game still. Now, this is one of the class setups that does have one of the fastest times to kills in the game up close, out to about 15-20 meters or so. If you get those one burst kills, you're getting a 220 millisecond time to kill, and that is, of course, with the KSP. Our class setup's pretty simple here, and we have featured this previously, but we start off with that sound suppressor for that muzzle flash concealment. Then we move to the barrel. The Task Force option does give us damage, range, and bullet velocity. Nice increases here across the board. Then the underbarrel. We're just taking the front grip here for no minuses on this thing. We don't really need super lots of recoil control, so this does keep us on target. Then the magazine. We're taking the Vandal speed loader here for a very fast reload speed with this thing. You don't really need a magazine on a 3 burst SMG, but it is a quite nice option to have. And then the handle. We're going for the Serpent Wrap for that aim down sight speed increase, but again, you can switch out the magazine for something like a stocky if you do prefer that playstyle. Again, secondary, choose whatever you want in this slot. Stim shot, pretty mandatory option, just getting those extra continuations on your gun streaks. Semtex in the lethal slot, up to you, and the field upgrade, choose whatever you want. Perk greed, of course, in this slot, we don't need 8 attachments on this thing. Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Assassin, Scavenger, Ninja, and Ghost here. Moving to one of the better tactical rifles in the game, you could argue that the M16 or the Carve 2 or whatever is better here, but I really like the Carve 2. I think getting those 2 burst kills is really, really simple here, and it still does have about a 300-ish millisecond time to kill, which is quite nice in this game. But the attachments are going to be as follows. For the silencer here for that muzzle flash concealment, this does reduce our bullet velocity, but it's not a super big deal here. Barrel, we want that titanium to increase the fire rate by 16%. Then the underbarrel, we want that infiltrated grip for movement speed, shooting movement speed, and aim walking movement speed increases. Then the handle, we want the Serpent Wrap for that aim down sight speed increase of 25%. We don't want to reduce our stats by as much with the airborne elastic wrap, so keep that in mind. And then the stock, we're taking the SAS combat stock for a 10% increase to the shooting movement speed and a 50% increase to, of course, the aim walking movement speed. Again, secondary is up to you. We're still going with the dual wield Diamantes, but take a shotgun, take a launcher, take whatever you want. Stim shot, Semtex, and the Jammer, of course, choose as you do prefer. We want the perk greed, of course, because 8 attachments on this thing is a little overkill here. Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Assassin, Scavenger, Ghost, and Ninja here. Next, we do have an LMG here, and this is, of course, the Stoner 63. I think this is a very powerful weapon in the game. And then to start off with the optic here, I don't really like the iron sights on this thing, so this is definitely an attachment that you can swap out for something else, but I choose the Millstop Reflex here. Then in the barrel slot, we do take the Task Force for a damage range and bullet velocity increase here. This is definitely less than it was previously, but the damage range is still really, really nice with this option. The underbarrel, we're taking the SFOD speed grip is still quite nice here for a 12% increase to our sprinting movement speed as well as horizontal recoil control. Then the handle, airborne elastic wrap for the most amount of aim down sight speed here. This is quite nice, but again, Serpent Wrap also does a good job here. Can take a larger magazine, but you will have to switch out something like an underbarrel or something like that as well, so keep that in mind here. In the stock, the SAS combat stock for the shooting movement speed and aim walking movement speed increases, which is absolutely massive for this thing in terms of moving around while we are aimed down sight. The rest of our class setup you have probably seen by now. The dual wield Diamantes, of course, the Stim Shot, the Semtex, the Jammer, choose these all as you do prefer. We don't need 8 attachments on this thing, but you can definitely run 8 on this thing to make it a little bit more powerful. So we can take perk greed or gunfighter here. Flak Jacket, Forward Intel, Scavenger, Tracker, Ninja, and Ghost as the rest of our class setup. And then lastly, I know a lot of you guys are disappointed about the sniper changes, but realistically, it's not that bad. Of course, they did add that flinch, and we can actually address that here, but as far as that aim down sight speed goes with something like the Tundra, it's not really that significant. It's almost less than a frame sometimes, so you can still get away with this thing. It's still going to be fun. It's still going to be usable. You're still going to get those one-shot kills. As for our attachments on the Tundra here, they're going to be a little different to how we have run this previously. But starting off with that target team, this did get nerfed slightly in terms of that bullet velocity, but this is still probably the best option for those one-shot kill zones. Then the underbarrel, the SFOD speed grip for a sprinting movement speed increase, as well as horizontal recoil control. The magazine is always nice to have here with the 7-round mags. You do get 6 if you do run the tiger team, so just keep that in mind with this as well. Handle, we're going with the serpent wrap here for a 10% increase to that aim down sight speed after they did absolutely butcher the airborne elastic wrap. Look at these stats, man. 5% increase to that aim down sight speed, 25% flinch resistance. This is just dead now. You can also take the SSAR Jungle Grip for a less aim down sight speed, but more flinch resistance, which is quite nice with this particular weapon. Actually, having that flinch resistance back is still very, very strong. So this choice is up to you, so keep that in mind here. And then lastly, the Raider Pad for a sprint to fire speed and aim walking movement speed increase. This does get our sights up nice and quickly in combination with the grip that we've chosen here. So again, this is a little worse than it used to be, but keep in mind that the Serpent Wrap or the Jungle Grip are still going to do you quite powerful options in this game. Getting those sights up is still going to be quite powerful, and you're going to be able to get those shots off nice and quickly still. Don't worry about the aim down sight nerfs too much. It's still okay. And that wraps it up here. These are the 10 most overpowered class setups, in my opinion, in the game right now as of the most recent update. I still think there's some tweaking and testing to do with some of these weapons because they are very, very powerful now. But I think the AK47... that AK47 is absolutely ridiculous. With that bullet velocity stat of nearly 900 meters per second now, it's an absolute god gun in this game. So keep that in mind here. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this one. I do massively appreciate it. Of course, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. As I said, we are looking for 5,000 very soon. We are trickling towards it, so keep that ball rolling. And of course, I will see you in the next video. Bye!